One of the biggest underlying issues in the modern world has got to be people's unawareness to their bias of someone who have they just met, or maybe even at times someone they haven't even just met quite yet. Hello class, my name is Eduardo Zeiss, and today I'm going to be talking about stereotypes and their detrimental effect in the modern age. Stereotyping has been around as long as people around the world have started mixing with each other. It has created barriers and influenced discrimination amongst the masses, and has just encouraged division amongst people. Stereotyping is the act of having this predetermined idea of a certain person, whether that be because of their ethnicity, religion, or sometimes even something as trivial as their hobbies. Just from the description alone, you can already tell that stereotyping is very problematic because it just assumes things about people that are just, for the most part, untrue to begin with. And it's very harmful. It can lead to very unfair judgment of people that don't deserve to be perceived that way. A recent study for Pew Research has shown that about 68% of Americans do believe that stereotyping is an issue, and they acknowledge it. And that's actually huge. Having a majority of the people from one of the biggest countries in the world acknowledge that stereotyping is a problem is very good to it beginning to start being recognized as an issue. But just acknowledging the problem alone is not enough to abolish it and completely get rid of it. I personally believe that to eradicate stereotyping, the only way to do so effectively would be to just stop talking about stereotyping as a whole in general. And you might be wondering to yourself, how is that even possible, or why would that be beneficial to begin with? I'll give you the example that if someone who didn't know stereotypes of a certain people walked up to me and asked me about it to see what it is or why it means this way, if I were to tell them what the stereotype is or explain to them further, I alone am already just feeding the stereotype more. I'm not willingly encouraging the stereotype, but I am adding on to the stereotype's legacy. I'm spreading it, and that's very contradictory to the whole point of trying to abolish the stereotype. And that's why I believe that just not talking about stereotypes overall is the most efficient way to get rid of stereotyping as a whole. Stereotyping encourages discrimination, and this actually is perfectly portrayed in this study that was made by the National Bureau of Economic Research. For the most part, when applying to a company, black-sounding names receive less or fewer callbacks, or are less likely to get a callback from the company, unlike white-sounding names. Now, whether it be because of what they may imagine from the names as a whole, that's already a bigger issue in and of itself. But by looking at the names and assuming that that's related to a certain people, that's already a stereotype within itself, which is a very bad assumption, because in the end, that assumption in itself could be proven wrong, or it could be just wrong in general. You don't know who is applying, you don't know what the person is or who they are until you meet and talk to them. Assuming who they are based on something as trivial as their name, something like that, it's not beneficial, and it just leads to prejudice. And for those who don't know what prejudice is, it's basically basing an idea without any backing of hard facts, basically. And for someone who just learns about stereotypes recently, or when someone just freshly hears about stereotypes, it's very detrimental to the way they start seeing the world and perceiving people, because they could just start assuming that this one person that's based off of a stereotype, or the stereotype that's based off of a person, they can just start assuming that not only them fit the stereotype, but their whole people as a whole fit the stereotype. Once again, whether that be religion, ethnicity, or once again, something as trivial as a hobby. This just creates division, because it could lead to people not wanting to mix with certain people, whether that be the stereotype is something negative, or for the most part, stereotypes are pretty negative. So it just doesn't allow people to truly mix and meet each other at face value. And I believe that it's important to acknowledge that people are more than just a stereotype.